Hi, I'm Libby, and I'll be reading you today's Cape Cod Times, dated Friday, May 31st, 2024. In the weather outlook today, we have temperatures in the 70s for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Today it will be warmer with times of clouds and sun. Tonight temperatures will dip down into the mid-50s, clear and partly cloudy. Saturday and Sunday look beautiful, with Saturday being sunny and nice. Sunday, a few clouds roll in. By special request from a few of our faithful listeners, we now present the lottery numbers. For Thursday's midday drawing of the numbers game, we have numbers 8, 6, 6, and 1. The evening drawing that day were numbers 4, 1, 5, and 2. Thursday's mass cash drawing numbers were 6, 10, 15, 28, and 34. For the Powerball drawing on Wednesday, we have numbers 17, 34, 56, 60, 61, and the extra ball of 9. And finally, for Tuesday's Mega Millions drawing, the numbers were 12, 18, 48, 57, 62, and the extra ball of number 4. The lead local story on today's paper is headlined, "He's Really Lucky. Pet Lop Rabbit Found on Seashore Gets New Home," by Heather McCarran of the Cape Cod Times. It's not unusual to see rabbits hopping about among the grasses and shrubs during a walk in the Cape Cod National Seashore, so one that doesn't belong could be easily missed. Luckily for one not-so-wild rabbit, a keen-eyed hiker saw him and reported his presence to a park ranger, an action that rescuers at the Animal Rescue League of Boston say saved the rabbit's life. A person walking the trails around Doan Rock noticed that the rabbit didn't look like any of the other rabbits in the area, and he definitely was not a wild rabbit, but was clearly a domesticated rabbit, said Mike DeFina, Media Relations Manager for the Animal Rescue League of Boston. This person astutely tracked down a park ranger who was nearby and pointed out the rabbit, and the ranger was very easily able to trap the bunny. From there, he said, Eastham Animal Control took the rabbit and turned him over to the care of the Rescue League's Cape Cod Ton Kingman Memorial Campus on Main Street in Brewster. The English lop rabbit, estimated to be about a year old, arrived there in late April and was aptly named Eeyore because of his floppy ears, resembling those of the character in A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh books. Eeyore quickly got a lot of attention from visitors to the shelter as he hung out in an enclosure in the front lobby. But he was not immediately offered for adoption in order to give him a chance to recuperate from his time in the wild. That all changed over the Memorial Day weekend. As he was recovering from a neutering procedure at the Rescue League's Dedham shelter, which took place late last week, and awaiting planned transport back to Brewster on Tuesday, he got the attention of an adoptive family who ended up taking him and another rabbit into their hearts and home. Eeyore came a long way in just a few weeks. Last month, when he arrived at the Brewster shelter, he was thin and he had some scrapes and cuts, which may have come from him getting into a scuffle or two, DeFina said. It's unknown how much time Eeyore spent roaming the seashore. DeFina said finding a food source and evading predators were the rabbit's biggest challenges. His body condition and healing lacerations were a testament to that. Being a domesticated rabbit, he was used to a person taking care of him and feeding him, he said. Sadie Santos, People and Operations Manager at the Brewster shelter, said stray rabbits don't come along very often, so we were definitely surprised when one of our local animal control officers showed up with one. Even though he had a rough go of it, Eeyore did not show any behavioral signs of trauma. Despite being found on a busy road near the beach, yikes, he turned out to be a very friendly guy, Santos said. After the first couple of days at the Brewster shelter, she said, Eeyore began greeting the rescuers whenever they walked in, standing up on his 2 back feet to sniff us. Staff and volunteers spent time brushing him frequently, attention he especially likes. They also found him to be very tolerant of getting his nails trimmed and that he is litter box trained. It's clear that he spent time with humans before coming to us as a stray, she said. Overall, he is a goofy and sweet little guy, and we're excited to find him his forever home. How to recognize a domesticated rabbit in the wild. It is not known how Eeyore wound up in the wild. We try not to speculate or assume that he was abandoned. However, he's clearly domesticated. He was very easy to trap and very easy to handle. Really, everything that wild rabbits are not, Defina said. The rescuers emphasized that releasing domestic animals into the wild is not the proper or humane way to treat animals that are no longer wanted or able to be cared for, as domesticated animals cannot survive on their own in the wild. If you're no longer able to care for an animal, contact your local animal control officer, ARL, or local animal shelter to surrender the animal, the Rescue League said. ARL understands pet ownership can be difficult and offers a judgment-free environment for anyone looking to surrender. As for Eeyore, Defina said it was a lucky thing he was found. He's really lucky. He's a social rabbit. He really likes being around people, and he's going to make a great pet, he said. 3 peace polls planned for Sandwich and Bourne, by Rachel Devaney of the Cape Cod Times. 3 peace poles, sponsored by the Bourne and Sandwich Rotary Club, will be installed on Cape Cod as a call to action. I hope the poles can be a silent, visual reminder to embody peace and harmony, said Beth Griffin, the chair of the club's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. Peace poles are small white pillars with the message, "May peace prevail on earth," an affirmation of peace that's displayed in the language of the country where it's placed, said Griffin. The message, "May peace prevail on earth," was authored by Masahisa Goi of Japan after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Peace poles often have peace affirmation translations in 3 to 7 additional languages that are meaningful to the host site, said Griffin. The overall goal, she said, is to build a culture of peace and inspire unity among people of all cultures, ethnicities, and backgrounds. The peace poles are a project of Rotary International. Where will the peace poles be on Cape Cod? The Bourne Select Board approved the installation of 1 peace pole at its May 14th meeting, and the Sandwich Board of Selectmen approved another on May 16th. There are a lot of towns that have begun doing peace pole projects across the country. We saw that and thought it could be a great DEI initiative, said Griffin. The Rotary Club will also be presenting the peace pole project to the board of the Jonathan Bourne Public Library on June 6th. If the project is approved, a 3rd peace pole will be installed on library property. While Buzzards Bay Park has been a suggestion of where one of the peace poles could be placed, said Griffin, location decisions are still pending. Each pole will be inserted into a concrete base, she said, and a granite stone will display the year of incorporation. What other languages will Cape peace poles feature? English, Wampanoag, and Braille languages will be used on the peace poles, said Griffin. These languages very much represent Cape communities, she said. In the fall of 2023, Rotary Club members began approaching Wampanoag tribal nations to gain permission to use the Wampanoag language on the peace poles. Griffin said she reached out to Herring Pond Wampanoag tribal chairwoman Melissa Ferretti, who was president of the Wampanoag Language Reclamation Project at the time. Ferretti is also a member of the Bourne Select Board. Jessie Littledoe Baird, a founder of the Wampanoag Language Reclamation Project, told Ferretti that there was no word in Wampanoag that translates to "May peace prevail on earth," said Ferretti. But Baird said that Wuna Tokanok means "let peace prevail." I've never seen other peace poles before, but I felt like this was such a great idea, said Ferretti. It's an important way to bring Cape communities together. Once peace poles are installed and mounted with the different languages, Griffin said the Rotary Club will hold a ceremony and community event. Peace pole locations will also be added to the National Rotary Club's Rotary Peace Poles map. Why peace poles? The Rotary DEI Committee, said Griffin, wants to build international relationships, improve lives, and create a better world to support peace efforts. The Peace Pole project is just one of many things the committee and the Rotary Club does overall to make a difference in the Cape community and promote peace and conflict resolution, said Griffin. It feels good to be part of a positive message that needs to be heard, said Griffin. We're all different human beings, and I hope everyone can embrace the peace poles and hold meaningful conversations about peace. Active tornado season raises questions, by Elizabeth Weiss, Dina Voiles-Pulver, and Doyle Rice of USA Today. If you think there have been a lot of tornadoes this year, you're right. With at least 850 confirmed tornadoes so far and several major tornado outbreaks, 2024 already ranks among the busiest years in recorded history. It's at least the sixth busiest in the past 30 years, based on preliminary information from the Storm Prediction Center. That number is likely to rise as the National Weather Service continues surveying and confirming damages from the April and May tornado reports, which were significantly higher than in previous years. Even some veteran storm chasers have been astounded by tornado activity so far this year. We've had a lot of tornadoes and several big days, said Harold Brooks, a senior scientist at the National Severe Storms Laboratory in Norman, Oklahoma. Preliminary information indicates the U.S. has seen 4 days with at least 30 tornadoes rated EF1 or stronger, Brooks noted. The average is 2 a year. Since April 26th, the U.S. has experienced 18 killer tornadoes in which dozens of people have died. Half the victims were in mobile homes. May 27th, at least 22 people were killed in Arkansas, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Texas. May 6th to 8th, multiple tornadoes hit northeastern and central Oklahoma, including one in Barnsdall, Oklahoma, that killed 1 person and destroyed 30 to 40 homes. April 27th and 28th, tornadoes struck 12 Oklahoma counties, leaving at least 4 dead and 100 injured. Sheriff Ray Sappington of Cook County, Texas, a veteran of more than 30 years in law enforcement, was overcome with emotion as he talked to the news media Saturday night after a deadly tornado. I'm still emotional, Sappington told USA Today on Tuesday. The EF3 tornado traveled 48 miles across 3 counties, one of 4 tornadoes in the Dallas-Fort Worth Weather Service region. It killed 7 and injured 100, the Weather Service said. Sappington has responded to countless storm scenes, but said it's different when you're the sheriff and it's in your county. I told the parents of a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old that their kids were dead, and I led them in there to make the identification and watched that, he said. Why has this tornado season been so active? So far, the Weather Service puts the number of tornadoes at 857 through May 27th, based on preliminary reports. Meteorologists interviewed by USA Today blame an active jet stream, coupled with a series of powerhouse storms rolling from the west coast across the nation's midsection. It's been a great recipe for numerous severe thunderstorms and tornadoes over the past few weeks, said meteorologist Peter Mullinax of the Weather Prediction Center. The storms have been able to tap into a very warm, moist atmosphere that's been sitting over the Gulf of Mexico, AccuWeather meteorologist Paul Pastelok added. Both meteorologists said the active jet stream is being powered in part by the diminishing El Niño, a climate pattern in the Pacific Ocean that affects weather around the world. The storm activity has come in waves this year, with unusual warmth earlier in the year fueling more storms, said Victor Gensini, an associate professor of meteorology and severe weather at Northern Illinois University. The big heat dome over Central America and the Gulf of Mexico allows for this reservoir of gasoline, in this case moisture, to store up, Gensini said while in the field on Tuesday in Texas. Typically this time of year, a cold front will pass over the region and shut down storm activity. But it's difficult for cold fronts to push down into the heat dome, he said. The moisture remains in place. That's one of the fundamental ingredients you need for tornadoes. Pastelok said the stormy pattern should continue into June, but that the month shouldn't be as busy as May was. Is climate change responsible? Additional research is needed to understand the role climate change is playing in tornado activity, Gensini said. I think it's safe to say climate change plays a role, but is it 10%, 5%, or 1%? I don't think we know that right now. For example, climate scientists say they're not confident in a long-term trend in larger numbers or intensity of tornadoes. Instead, what appears to be happening is that tornadoes are occurring at different times and in different places than they have in the past. Among the oddities observed this year, April was well above average for the number of tornadoes, Brooks said. Some areas have been hit repeatedly or by multiple tornadoes. Gilmer County in Georgia experienced 4 tornadoes on May 8th and 9th. The Dallas-Fort Worth Weather Service office reported 4 tornadoes in its region over the weekend, then gusts of up to 77 miles per hour on Tuesday. Illinois experienced several strong storms in February, a time of year in which they're certainly known to happen, but the spacing was surprising, Gensini said. We had tornadoes in similar areas just a few weeks ago, Gensini said of the Illinois tornadoes. Couple that with some record-breaking temperatures, and folks begin asking questions. To me, this is a good example of the new norms associated with climate change. Nicotine-like chemicals unregulated. Synthetic analogs may be more potent, FDA says. By Emma Rumney of Reuters. Dateline London. Nicotine alternatives used in vapes being launched in the U.S. and abroad, such as 6-methylnicotine, may be more potent and addictive than nicotine itself, though the scientific data remains incomplete, according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and independent researchers. The synthetic substances, which have a chemical structure similar to that of nicotine, are not subject to U.S. tobacco and vaping regulations that are designed to control traditional nicotine, a highly addictive drug. That means manufacturers can sell vapes containing synthetic nicotine analogs, such as 6-methylnicotine, in the United States without seeking authorization from the FDA, a process that can be costly, time-consuming, and is often unsuccessful. Big tobacco firms like Altria Group and British American Tobacco have already lost substantial U.S. sales to an influx of disposable vapes containing traditional nicotine that are being illegally sold without FDA authorization. Altria, the maker of Marlboro cigarettes in the U.S., highlighted the emerging use of 6-methylnicotine in vapes in an April 5th letter to the FDA, according to a copy of its correspondence posted on its website. The letter urged the FDA to tackle the substantial black market for nicotine-containing vapes. This problem is now spreading, Altria said in the letter, flagging the emergence of nicotine analogs. It cited Spree Bar, a vape launched in October by Charlie's Holdings Incorporated that uses 6-methylnicotine. The FDA declined to comment on correspondence with individual firms. In response to Reuters' questions about 6-methylnicotine and other nicotine alternatives, the FDA said in a statement, although more research is needed, some emerging data show these nicotine analogs may be more potent than nicotine, which is already highly addictive, can alter adolescent brain development, and have long-term effects on youth's attention, learning, and memory. Traditional nicotine found in many vapes and pouches is extracted from tobacco leaves. 6-methylnicotine, in contrast, is made entirely in the lab using chemicals. The FDA said it was considering the use of such synthetic compounds from an agency-wide perspective and would use all of its resources to protect youth from products that may harm their health. The FDA is a data-driven agency, and we're in the process of reviewing the available data to inform potential actions in this space, it said. 3 academic researchers told the news agency that current studies of 6-methylnicotine are too limited to draw definite conclusions on the health impact or to what degree it is addictive. Ahmad Damaj, a professor in the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology at Virginia Commonwealth University, said his research showed 6-methylnicotine may be more potent than nicotine, but more extensive tests were needed to say what impact it has on humans. The limitations of existing research included that some papers were industry funded, while others focused on the short-term impact on animals or cells, and were insufficient to understand 6-methylnicotine's effects on human bodies, the researchers said. Charlie's Holdings calls the 6-methylnicotine solution used in Spreebar medetine. Spreebar's website says medetine may have a toxicity profile similar to nicotine. Spreebar promises users 6,000 puffs from each device and offers fruity flavors, according to its website. The FDA has yet to approve any flavored vape using traditional nicotine for sale in the United States, saying companies have not been able to show that the health benefits they offer to smokers outweigh the known risks to young people, who may be more attracted by the flavors. Charlie's Holdings co-founder Ryan Stump told Reuters that the company only targets adults, adding that flavors played an important role in its mission to help smokers quit cigarettes. Stump said Charlie's Holdings respects and abides by laws in every market where it operates. He acknowledged that more research is needed on 6-methylnicotine, adding that the company dilutes it in its products. The company buys the 6-methylnicotine solution used in Spreebar from another U.S. firm, Novel Compounds, according to Novel Compounds founder Samuel Benaim. Novel Compounds imports 6-methylnicotine from overseas and alters it to make it easier for manufacturers to use in their products. It sells this solution under the trade name Imatine. Tests commissioned by Novel Compounds have found 6-methylnicotine to be no more harmful than nicotine, Benaim said. But he also said that more research was needed. The company is committed to legal compliance, he said. More potent than nicotine? Sven Jort, a professor at Duke University, who has authored papers on products like Spreebar, said 6-methylnicotine could be more addictive and toxic than its traditional cousin. Do we want to have such a chemical as a recreational product available to anyone, he asked? That's really questionable. Neither George nor Damage, the professor at Virginia Commonwealth University, have received funding from tobacco or vape makers. Another company, Aroma King, sells 6-methylnicotine in the United Kingdom in pouches, which users insert under the lip to get a buzz. In a statement to Reuters, Aroma King cited existing research, its own toxicology and other tests, and its supplier, which classifies 6-methylnicotine as less toxic under the European Union's classification, labeling, and packaging of substances and mixtures regulation. Aroma King said 6-methylnicotine was self-classified by its supplier. It declined to say who supplies the chemical. Zinwi Biotech, a company that makes the liquid used in vapes, confirmed it is one company researching 6-methylnicotine, but didn't answer further questions. In sports news, we have an article headlined, MLB records now reflect Gibson's excellence. Babe Ruth has long been considered the greatest player in baseball history, with arguments made for Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Ty Cobb, Stan Musial, Barry Bonds, and even Shohei Ohtani. Well, there's now a new player entering the debate, Hall of Fame catcher Josh Gibson. Gibson and all the former Negro League players will have their statistics officially incorporated into Major League Baseball's historical records, according to a person familiar with the announcement. The person spoke to USA Today Sports on the condition of anonymity, since the official announcement is scheduled for Wednesday. It's been 3.5 years since MLB officially elevated Negro League statistics to Major League status in December 2020. Gibson, who spent his entire career in the Negro Leagues from 1930, 1933 to 40, and 1942 to 46, will now be considered the greatest catcher of all time, and arguably the best player of all time, according to the official historical records after an independent committee reviewed them. Gibson is MLB's new all-time career leader in batting average, .372, moving ahead of Ty Cobb. Slugging percentage, .718, moving ahead of Ruth, OPS 1.177 ahead of Ruth, and holds the all-time single-season records in each of those categories. When you hear Josh Gibson's name now, it's not just that he was the greatest player in the Negro Leagues, Sean Gibson, Gibson's great-grandson, told USA Today Sports, but one of the greatest of all time. These aren't just Negro League stats, they're Major League Baseball stats. This means so much for not only the Josh Gibson family, but representing the 2,300 men in the Negro Leagues who didn't get the opportunity to play in the major leagues. Major League Baseball wasn't integrated until 1947, when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier with the Brooklyn Dodgers. But now, for the first time, the Negro League stats from 1920 to 1948 are incorporated into the official Major League Baseball stats. Gibson's .446 batting average for the 1943 Homestead Grays is now the best in MLB history, eclipsing Hall of Famer Hugh Duffy at .440 in 1894, who dropped to third. Fellow Negro League star Charlie Chino Smith is now second with his .451 batting average in 1929 for the New York Lincoln Giants. Gibson's .974 slugging percentage in 1937 shatters Bonds' .863 mark in 2001. Bonds dropped from first to fifth, with Mule Suttles .877, Gibson .871 in 1943, and Smith .870 in 1929 ahead of him. Gibson's OPS of 1.474 in 1937 and 1.435 in 1943 now rank as the top two single-season marks ahead of Bonds' 1.421 in 2004. Gibson also moves into third place in the all-time single-season on-base percentage category with .564 in 1943, behind Bonds' .609 in 2004. While Gibson's Hall of Fame plaque reads that he hit nearly 800 home runs, his actual total is 238, still the highest in Negro Leagues history. That's because statisticians counted exhibitions and barnstorming tours to his total. You hear about all of the home runs, Sean Gibson said, but when the stats came in, he's not in the home run conversation, but all of the other conversations about what a great all-around player he is. The numbers don't lie. Now that these available new statistics validate Gibson's greatness, Sean Gibson is hoping that the Baseball Writers Association names the league's most valuable player awards in Gibson's honor. The MVP award used to be named after former MLB Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, but his name was stripped off the plaque in 2020 after former MVP winners Barry Larkin, Terry Pendleton, and Mike Schmidt voiced their discomfort. Landis was MLB's first commissioner from 1920 to 1944, and baseball was not integrated until 3 years after his death. How ironic would it be for Josh Gibson to replace the man who denied more than 2,300 men the opportunity to play baseball in the major leagues, Sean Gibson said. I'm hoping with these stats that we can change it to the Josh Gibson MVP award. These stats make a great case for it to be named in his honor. We've reached the halfway point of our program, and regular listeners are aware that at this stage of our broadcast, we move to the obituaries. Our first obituary is for Wilma M. Prada, dateline Yarmouth. Wilma Willie M. Marshall Prada of South Yarmouth passed away peacefully on May 26th, surrounded by her family. She was born in Yarmouth on July 5, 1935, to A. Louise Cash and William M. Marshall. She graduated from Yarmouth High School in 1953, and then she started her career working at the Great Island Pharmacy, and after raising her children, she worked for the town of Yarmouth until her retirement. She is survived by her children, her grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. She is also survived by her 2 sisters, as well as several nieces and nephews. She also leaves behind her best friend of 82 years, Esther White Viet. Wilma was predeceased by her husband George of 70 years. Her parents, her sister Grace Marshall Oliver, and her brother Charles. Willie will be forever known for her great meals, spotless house, and her dedication to family. She will be missed by all who knew her, especially her children and grandchildren. Visitation will be held on Monday, June 3rd, from 11 to 1 p.m., with a funeral service to follow at 1 p.m. at Chapman Funerals and Cremations on Long Pond Drive in South Yarmouth. A burial will follow in Chandler Gray Cemetery. In lieu of flowers, please donate to St. Jude, Boys Town, or your favorite charity. Notes of comfort may be made to Willie's family at the Chapman Funeral website. Shirley Loretta Pirovano, Dateline Mashpee. Shirley Loretta Kane Pirovano, age 82, of Mashpee, passed away on May 27th at the age of 82. Shirley is survived by her husband Forrest Pirovano of Mashpee and Naples, Florida, to whom she was married to for 56 years. Shirley was born on November 25, 1941 in Boston, and raised in the Dorchester section. She was a proud graduate of Jeremiah E. Burke High School and earned a B.S. in education at Lesley University. She also received her M.S. at Wheelock College. She was an elementary school teacher in Falmouth, Bellevue, Pennsylvania, and a reading specialist in Norwell. She retired in 1997 and joined her husband delivering time-sensitive materials throughout the U.S. and Canada. She traveled through all 48 states and Alaska, traveling over 1 million miles. She was an escort driver for a delivery of the Hubble telescope and many satellites for NASA, and delivered time-sensitive material for the U.S. government, including the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and Coast Guard. Shirley loved animals. She was known as the dog treat lady. Every dog in her neighborhood loved her. The family would like to send a special thank you to the wonderful staff at Atria's Memory Care Unit in Falmouth. A private remembrance to celebrate her life will be held at a later date. In lieu of flowers, donations may be made to People for Cats on Beagle Lane in East Falmouth, or to Southport Residents Scholarship Fund in Mashpee. For online guestbook and condolences, please visit the website of Chapman Funeral. Francis A. Silva, Dateline North Truro. Francis Pop Silva of North Truro passed away on Sunday, May 19th at Cape Cod Hospital after a long, hard-fought battle against heart disease compounded by a stroke in 2019. Also known by many as Frank, Pop loved his wife Karen Ann Silva of 61 years immensely. Friends since first grade, they enjoyed a lifetime in North Truro together, surrounded by their son Keith and his wife, their son Daniel and his wife, and their son Michael and his fiancée. He watched his 7 wonderful grandchildren grow up. They all loved him and miss him dearly. His brother Robert and his partner, with whom he spent a lifetime, along with 14 nieces and nephews. He was primarily known as a fixture at the Truro Police Department for 27 years, first as a dispatcher, an auxiliary patrolman, and later as assistant to the chief. He wore many hats. He was a truck driver as a young man and a carpenter with his brother for a short time. However, no hat fit as well as that of husband, father, and grandfather, brother, coach, and friend. He enjoyed many years of playing softball and golf with his 3 sons. He and Carol loved to travel with trips to Aruba, Hawaii, Bermuda, countless Caribbean islands, and of course Disney World with the grandkids. The pair were also a sight to behold on the dance floor together. In addition to his close family, Pops leaves behind countless friends with as many stories and fun times to last multiple lifetimes. The Broken Chain. We little knew that morning that God was going to call your name. In life we loved you dearly. In death we do the same. It broke our hearts to lose you. You did not go alone. for part of us went with you the day God called you home. You left us beautiful memories. Your love is still our guide. And although we cannot see you, you are always at our side. Our family chain is broken, and nothing seems the same. But as God calls us one by one, the chain will link again. To Pops, God bless your hind legs. A funeral mass will be held on Wednesday, June 5th at 11 a.m. at St. Peter the Apostle Church in Provincetown. In lieu of flowers, please consider a donation to one of the meaningful charities, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, or to the Dana-Farber Cancer Center in Brookline. For online condolences, please visit the website of Nickerson Funerals. Today's Ask Carolyn column is headlined, Sibling Unravels When Brother Divorces Wife of 30 Years Just Before Holiday. Dear Carolyn, my brother announced to the family 3 weeks before Thanksgiving that he and his wife of 30 years were getting a divorce. We were all stunned, confused, and mad. I was mad about the whole thing. I was assured it's not infidelity or money issues. It's none of my business, but they felt it was necessary to share it. As a family, we were very close. We spent a lot of time together growing up, going out, and at sporting events. My brother's ex-wife was like a sister. I was grieving for my brother, his family, and the loss of a family member. We were equally stunned when he wanted to bring his newly announced ex-bride to Thanksgiving. I protested aggressively. My brother said he wanted to make it as normal as possible for their kids over the holiday, and so we were just supposed to ignore that it was all happening. Long story short, I wasn't ready to be around her, and neither were other family members. She didn't come, and because I live far away, all the blame was put on me for making waves. Was I wrong for acting how I did? Signed, Perplexed. Dear Perplexed, yes, all the blame is on you, and it has nothing to do with your living far away. You're the one who aggressively said no. You're not to blame for the events that led to your Thanksgiving protest, of course. The couple's divorce was well outside the scope of your influence, though we wouldn't know that from the intensity of your emotional reaction to it, which I'll get to in a second. But you gave me whiplash when you jumped from grieving the loss of a family member to objecting to her presence. So, which is it? Are you lamenting your sister-in-law's exit from the family, or slamming doors to keep her out? If my framing sounds disingenuous, then you're right, it is. I wrote that even though I already suspect how they're thematically consistent. The common denominator is your aversion to emotional discomfort. You don't like change. Marital discord, family disruption, hard feelings, sadness, awkward conversations, rethinking Thanksgiving are all on your nope list. It's not as if anyone likes these things, sure, but such an emotional reaction to other people's marriage suggests an outsized aversion to change. You're angry at them for divorcing, as if they're doing it to you. I'm guessing that's how you see it, though, or feel it. You're angry at them for taking the close family you've counted on since childhood and making it uncomfortable for you. But here's the thing. Families change, whether by choice, accident, or time. The close ones stay close by adapting. Adapting feels weird. Your brother wanted to push through the weirdness and get everyone readjusted quickly for the kids. The loving, flexible, close family answer to his plans was, "Welp, weird, but we're here for you," and then a hug for your still ex-sister-in-law. Try that next time and apologize for last time, and ask yourself why anger and no were your go-to responses to loss. Half pound of lobster? Here are 6 top places to get lobster rolls on Cape Cod, by Gwen Friss of the Cape Cod Times. Here they are, folks, the best lobster roll results for 2024 as voted by Cape Cod Times readers. Number 1 this year by a landslide. When Matt Lombardo opened Pink Door Catering and Market in Mashpee 3 years ago, He wanted a signature dish that would bring customers in to see the many other catering and heat-and-eat meals. Lombardo chose a lobster roll as his signature sandwich, and more than half, 56.6%, of the 245 people who voted for their favorite Cape Cod lobster roll agreed with him. First off, it's a half pound of lobster. It's massive. What also sets us apart is it's on an 8-inch sub-roll that we bake here every morning, Lombardo said of the storefront at 800 Falmouth Road in Mashpee. The lobster roll is $35 plus tax, the same price it's been for the past 2 years, he said, and comes only traditional style, not hot and buttered like many places in Connecticut do it. We just do cold. Our motto is a little mayo, little celery, and a lot of lobster, Lombardo said of his shop, which was formerly Chef Roland's Catering. The pink door at the entrance is a tribute to Lombardo's mother, who always had a pink door on her homes in East Falmouth and Wayland as a symbol of hospitality. Cindy Lombardo passed away from cancer, but left a legacy of always welcoming family and friends. The door will always be pink in her honor to welcome people in, Lombardo said. Here are the top 6 places voted best for lobster rolls this year, with the last 2 tied for 5th place. Number 1, of course, is Pink Door Catering and Market in Mashpee. While most of his business is catering for weddings or other special events, Lombardo said the popularity of the lobster rolls has driven sales of meals for 1 at $14 or 2 at $24, packaged in containers that can be reheated in the oven or microwave. The daily menu includes chicken parm, chicken marsala, eggplant parm, lasagna bolognese, and beef bourguignon, plus usually a few specials. Next is Lobster and Chowder House on Route 6, just before Marconi Beach in Wellfleet. Lobster and Chowder House, the first foray out of Provincetown for the folks who own the Lobster Pot and the Lobster Pot Express, is a seasonal spot offering not 1 but 7 types of lobster rolls. They're all priced $27 to $29 according to the restaurant's website, and include not only hot with butter, cold with mayo, but also a lobster Cato, a lobster grilled cheese, a lobster BLT, a lobster Reuben, and a roll with fried lobster pieces. By the way, you'll spot the casual restaurant by the bright red picnic tables outside that are the color of cooked lobster shells. The Raw Bar at Pomponesset Marketplace in Mashpee. This seasonal spot features a colossal lobster roll, so big it comes with a fork at either end, so big that you can't see the roll sitting under it. The cost is market price and the preparation is traditional cold. The Lobster Trap Restaurant and Fish Market in Bourne. Stepping into Lobster Trap is like stepping into summer. The fish is ocean fresh and the lobster is no exception. The menu lists only a couple of preparations, a $39 lobster roll with fries, or in a shore supper, or cold as part of an $89 supreme chilled platter. Enjoy the terrific views from the outside deck and check out the fish market after dinner. The website is worth a visit too, as the chef shares recipes. Brack's Landing Restaurant in Harwich Port on Route 28. Choose a nice day to visit Brack's Landing on picturesque Saquatucket Harbor, where the boats bobbing gently and the sound of giant drums of ice being crushed into colorful frozen drinks will have you humming Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. The Simply the Best lobster roll, as the menu describes it, is $30 with the Lobster Club sandwich coming in at $25 on 3 slices of bread of your choice. You will feel like you're on vacation if you have a lobster roll and a sea breeze, a summery mix of vodka, cranberry, and grapefruit juices for lunch. The Skipper Chowder House on South Shore Drive in South Yarmouth. Also blessed with water views, the Skipper offers lobster rolls in several varieties, including different sizes of the hot, with butter, and cold with mayonnaise choices. The larger size features 8 ounces of lobster salad in a grilled French roll. The Skipper's website features a neat tool that allows you to follow the shifting view as you walk around the restaurant and with the polished wooden floors and waterfront views, it feels like visiting a ship. Also, the clam chowder here is a Triple Crown winner, Cape Cod, Boston, and Newport festivals, so you might want to have a cup of chowder with your lobster roll. The Skipper also has an ice cream parlor, but that's another story and another poll for another day. It's a pirate's life for me. Cape Cod Pirate Festival returns in June, by Frankie Rowley of the Cape Cod Times. Ahoy, all ye swashbucklers and buccaneers! Fancy a visit back in time to when pirates ruled the seas? For 2 weekends in June, the Cape Cod Pirate Festival is transforming the Joshua Sears Memorial Field into the village of Moist Tortugas and the town of Yarmouth for 4 days of blimey good fun. The festival runs from 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. from June 1st to 2nd and June 8th to 9th, featuring performances, pub crawls, costume contests, theme days, and more. While attendees aren't required to dress up, it adds to the overall fun. It's really similar to a Renaissance fair, but with pirates, Chris Schultz, founder of the Cape Cod Pirate Festival, said. This year's theme days include the traditional Yarmouth Day on opening day, June 1st, which grants all adult Yarmouth residents half-off admission on tickets with proof of ID, and Dress Like a Pirate Day on June 2nd, plus the return of the Pirate in the Sky Day on June 8th, an ode to steampunk after its success following its introduction last year. The final day of the festival on June 9th is dedicated to the fantasy world, with a theme of merfolk, fairies, and fantasies. Costume contests will take place each day for adults and kids on the main stage. So if you want to dress up, you might as well dress up to win a prize. I always say that whenever you're dealing with a Renaissance fair or a pirate fair, a huge fair like that, you get all different genres who come out to show off their costumes. Outside of the costume contests, Old Tom's Tavern, the on-site pub, will be hosting a slew of tastings, pub crawls, and even an open mic as the Harlot Queens, a well-known group in the Ren Fair scene, provide all-day entertainment and pour the drinks in what Schultz describes as a mix of Coyote Ugly and Ellen's Stardust Diner. The girls will burst out into song at any point in time, he said. They'll joke, they'll get sassy, they'll boss around the guys a little bit and talk up the girls who are in the pub. It's really a fun experience. Demonstrations from local groups like the Yarmouth Minutemen, who take on their pirate sona of Jeremiah's Gunners for the event, and performances from musicians such as the Plank Walkers and Bechtold and Able Aerial Artistry, also fill up the days with good music and entertainment. For kids, the festival's Kids Cove, hosted by the Cape Cod Maritime Museum, will host a series of STEM-based nautical-themed activities throughout the day, coupled with festival games and rides to keep them entertained. The Pirates Market also returns pirates who enjoy spending their booty. I would encourage people to look at the schedule ahead of time and plot out their day, Schultz said. It's good to kind of plan that ahead of time, and frankly, you can't do everything in one day. If you're able to come down and have a place, or you want to grab a hotel room, I recommend it because there's some great opportunities for folks to just come on out and make an entire weekend of it. Tickets for the festival are $19 for adults, $15 for children, and there is a $45 Play All Day Pass available for purchase to use on games and rides. Tastings at Old Tom's Pub are $35, and the pub crawl is $25. The festival also is running a special promotional package with Bluebird Hotels, which includes 2 adults and 2 children's tickets to the festival and a pirate-themed amenity upon arrival. For more information about this year's festival, Bluebird Hotel package deal, and a full lineup of events, visit the website of the Cape Cod Pirate Festival. The Joshua Sears Memorial Field is located on Wood Road in South Yarmouth. Global Queer Solidarity, Provincetown Pride 2024 starts today, May 31st, by Gwen Friss of the Cape Cod Times. Provincetown is hosting its 7th annual Pride celebration, May 31st through June 2nd, with visitors from Obodo, Nigeria, a youth-led nonprofit that uses art and technology to advocate for the rights of queer Nigerians. Global queer solidarity is imperative during these times as the hate against LGBTQ+ people rises worldwide, especially in the global South. Matthew Blaze, founder and director of Obodo, said in a statement from the Provincetown Business Guild, which organizes Pride and is partnering this year with Obodo. At 5 p.m. Friday, there's an exhibition at the Provincetown Pride Center on Bradford Street. The work of 5 artists from the Obodo Queer Artist Fund 2024 will be shown. The art, exploring queer experiences in Nigeria, will be on display through June and available to buy. As part of Re-Imaging Queer Africa, Rachel Victory, a visual artist working in photography and film who is part of the Obodo group, will also be taking part in Provincetown Pride. Their storage of the courage it takes for them to be queer in their home space are really moving and important to me, especially in Provincetown, where we have the freedom to celebrate ourselves in a 70% majority, said Trevor Pittenger, executive director of the Provincetown Business Guild. It's still necessary for us in Pride to improve as queer people, to remember that we're responsible for queer people everywhere. We need to realize how much work there is to be done on a global level. Provincetown Pride Weekend has grown steadily over 7 years, Pittenger said. 5 or 6 years ago, there were a few hundred people at the rally. Last year, 1,500 came. Pittenger said Pride Weekend draws a greener crowd, more young people, more women, and more diversity. People feel like they need to make a pilgrimage to queer Mecca, and they don't know when to come, he said, adding that Provincetown has gotten more notice on best Pride celebration lists, and the weekend has grown, especially since the pandemic. But before the weekend even starts, many people will be coming from Boston and beyond via what Guild officials call the Bay State Cruise Company's official Pride crossing. The trip offers a preview of Pride Weekend events, Pride flags flying from the boat, and drinks will be available as the ferry travels to Provincetown. Provincetown Pride, bingo, dance parties, rally, and market. From 3 to 5 p.m. today, try your luck at Pride Bingo at the Governor Bradford, hosted by drag hostesses Roxy Pops and Lakia Mondale. The $40 per person entrance fee includes 8 games, prizes, and entertainment. Later tonight, from 10 to 11:30 p.m., the Red Room hosts the Full Spectrum Pride Kickoff Dance Party, presented with Obodo. Tickets are $15 in advance and $20 at the door. Music from DJs Mr. Zero and Sam Sewell will power the night with Pride dance tracks and Afro beats curated by Obodo, according to a Provincetown Business Guild press release. On Saturday, the celebration continues at noon with a free Pride Festival and Market, which this year includes African arts and crafts inside Provincetown Town Hall on Commercial Street. The event features LGBTQ+ artisans, vendors, a cash bar, and a live DJ. At 4 p.m., a Pride rally will be held on the steps of Provincetown Town Hall, led by hosts Mackenzie Miller and Austin Fizel, along with Obodo Nigeria's founder Blaze. The rally will feature a diverse lineup including representatives from Women of Color Weekend, innovation and inclusion expert and activist Mohammed Burhan, plus local performers Brittany Rolfs and Delta Miles. New program helps young adults afford Provincetown visit. Also speaking will be Hayden McDermott, a first-time Provincetown Pride attendee and Summer One program recipient. That new program provides affordable opportunities to first-time visitors aged 21 to 29. This program signals to younger LGBTQ+ generations that Provincetown is a space for them too. It supports one of the PBG's goals to attract new generations of queer visitors to Provincetown, to experience the unparalleled magic of P-Town's welcoming, inclusive community, Guild officials said in a written statement about the program they co-sponsored with local lodging partners. Immediately after the rally, from 4 to 7 p.m., the Boat Slip Resort and Beach Club on Commercial Street holds one of 2 tea dances and 1 boot camp tea for the Pride weekend. On Saturday night, Provincetown resident stand-up comic, performer, and producer Kristen Becker hosts the 3rd annual Queer Comedy Showcase at Town Hall. Stars include Jess Tom, who was recently featured on the Netflix comedy special Hannah Gadsby's Gender Agenda, Akeem Woods, a regular at New York City's Comedy Cellar, Kia Barnes, who has been featured on Netflix, BET, NBC, and the Les Laugh Comedy Show, and Zach Zimmerman, recently named a 2023 Vulture Comedian You Should and Will Know. The show is 8 to 9:30 p.m. with doors opening at 7. Tickets start at $25 for anyone under 30 and go to $55. The 5K run and walk down a Pride-decorated Commercial Street. Sunday morning brings the Feet Over Front Street 5K run and walk, starting at the Harbor Hotel in Provincetown's East End and running the full length of Commercial Street, including the full length of McMillan Pier. It offers participants a start-to-finish Rainbow Railroad takeover of the main drag of the world's premier queer travel destination, according to the website of the Provincetown Business Guild, which partnered with the Provincetown Runners in 2022 to add a Pride weekend run to the one traditionally held in August to coincide with Carnival. Front Street was the original name, dating back to the 1880s, for what is now Commercial Street. For a full listing of Pride weekend activities, visit ptown.org. Poets and musicians pay respects during Voices of Poetry D-Day event by Frankie Rowley of the Cape Cod Times. In commemoration of the 80th anniversary of D-Day, Voices of Poetry is hosting an event in honor of the day on June 9th. The event, titled The Longest Day, an afternoon of poetry and music in commemoration of the 80th anniversary of D-Day, begins at 2 p.m. at the Unitarian Church of Barnstable. Poets Elizabeth T. Gray, Zavinia Orlowski, Judith Partelow, and Al Starkey will read their own work, plus poems and letters from those who served in World War II. Larry Chaplin, John Grannis, and Marianne DeMello will provide the music for the event. I really wanted there to be a combination of original poetry or prose by those who served, to honor their service and to honor their sacrifice and music. Neil Silberblatt, founder of Voices of Poetry, said, "Music evokes such memories of that period, and I thought it would be an integral part of this event. So thrilled that we've assembled a great bunch of people." Silberblatt founded Voices of Poetry 12 years ago and has hosted over 400 poetry events featuring the likes of Pulitzer Prize winners and never-before-published poets across Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. While the organization has hosted poetry events for other historical events, such as the end of World War I and the end of the Civil War, this year marks the first event held in honor of D-Day. On June 6, 1944, troops from the United States, Britain, Canada, and other countries stormed the beaches of Normandy in occupied France to wrest Europe from Adolf Hitler and the German army. Memory is the rent we pay to those who went before, and we forget them at our own peril, he said. When it came to choosing the participants for this year's event, Silberblatt said it was an easy decision based on their work and merits. "I selected them because they have written wonderful work, and they read beautifully," he said. "It's a delight to hear their work and hear them read, and it's an honor to present their voices." And that's all I have time for today. This is your reader Libby saying thank you for listening.